Yes, madam, you can start. And simultaneously, I will request the guest of speaker to unmute.
Okay, so hello all the participants. I welcome you all in this session 2 of refresher program on innovative teaching learning methods phase 3. This program is organized by Vidya Pratishthans Kamal Nayan Bajaj Institute of Engineering and Technology Baramati, and the topic for today's session is effective use of ICT tools in teaching learning process. Our today's speaker for this session is Dr. Kapil Kadam from IIT Bombay. Sir, next slide, please. Okay, so Dr. Kapil Kadam is researcher in the area of educational technology, especially the development of students of special skills. Talking about his academic qualification, he has completed his BE and MTech in computer science and engineering from Shivaji University. He has also completed PhD in educational technology from IIT Bombay. About his work experience, currently he works as an education consultant. He has also offered MOOC course on IIT Bombay X about the fundamentals of 3D visualization. He has also conducted several FDP programs across the country for topics like active learning, ICT in education, flipped classroom, online teaching, blended learning, education technology research, and content delivery, etc. He His research interest includes education technology, development of special skills, computer science, education research, teacher training, technology enabled learning and thinking skills, engineering, drawing, e-learning, etc. In addition to this, he is a Blender enthusiast and he has conducted several Blender training programs and workshops for teachers and students in India. And these workshops mainly focuses on basis of 3D modeling, 3D animation, and 3D visualization using Blender software. So this was the very short introduction for today's eminent speaker, Dr. Kapil Kadam from IIT Bombay. Now I request Dr. Kapil Kadam to start sharing his screen and this session. So over to you, Dr. Kapil Kadam, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much for warm welcome and warm introduction. I hope I would be able to deliver as per, the introduction. I'll stop my video for holding the bandwidth. Yeah. So, have you made me co-host so that sometimes I would have to mute and unmute?
Sir, sir, we will be taking care of that.
Okay,
And
fine.
there is only one host.
Okay,
Okay, sir.
I can keep on texting you. I think Professor Anil Patil sir is host, I guess. I'll keep on pinging him. Okay, thank you. I will share the screen now.
Visible, sir.
Okay, thank you. For my session, which is on use of ICT for effective teaching and learning. So yeah, this is I put because sometimes my camera doesn't work, so I arranged for that. So just a quick starter for everyone to think upon. So I would like to say these are the objective or learning objective of my session. So can you figure out which of these are not the valid learning objective and quickly respond on the chat window? You can take a few seconds to read and respond on the chat window. You can simply number up. So first is identify the purpose of ICT in given educational context. And second one is understand your role as a teacher in effectively integrating ICT in class. Then you should be able to implement instructional strategy to effectively integrate ICT in class, or identify your role as a teacher in effectively integrating ICT in a class. Just quickly respond in a chat box. 3 is not a valid learning objective. That's what you're saying. Okay. 1 is not a valid learning objective. Okay. 3. Okay. 4. Somebody saying 4. Okay. 3, 4, 3, 4. Great. So this is a very quick starter exercise I wanted you to have, because everything starts with the learning objective. Okay, somebody saying 1 is not a valid learning objective. Great. So let me check which of this. So there is some reason that there are some standards that we follow to write learning objectives, like Bloom's taxonomy, action verbs, and everything, right? And specific purpose why you are conducting a lecture or a session or design a class, right? Or course, in fact. So I could see variations in all of your responses. Most people are saying 3 and 4. Basically, what I have to say is number 2 and 3 are not actual valid learning objectives. Basically, understanding your role as a teacher in effectively, it's not, measurable. Like, you cannot have a very strong action items for that. Okay. Okay. Somebody saying all are valid. And the third one, in the previous slide, if you see implement instruction, back, I have just put up these slides. And to give you brief idea of what Bloom's taxonomy. So this is like Bloom has created a taxonomy, okay, to provide higher forms of thinking in education, right? So beyond understand and everything, beyond recall. So there are different higher form of thinking are required. So for example, analyzing, evaluating concepts, processes, procedures, and principles, rather than just remembering facts, right? So this is just for your introduction. And so before actually beginning with the ICT start, I have another quick activity for you. So I'll give you a scenario. Okay? You don't need to 5 minutes to read it. You may take 1 or 2 minutes max. You just go through this particular scenario. So this is about a teacher called Vaishali, and she is a trained graduate in maths, and she's doing some teaching of mathematics and organizing. So to quickly go through this scenario. Once you're done, you can simply raise your hand or say done in chat box. Anything would be fine. You can simply type done.
Sir, you are not audible, sir. Kapil, sir.
Yeah, please make me co-host so that this thing, it's difficult for me to contact you back. Okay, yeah, thank you. So thank you everyone for your responses. Now, I have a question based on this scenario. Okay, so are there any ICT tools used in this given scenario? If you have found any. If yes, I would like you to just quickly post on chat. And if possible, can you post its which tools and their purposes? Let me see. You can quickly go through that. Yes, you're saying yes. So which of these tools and what are the purposes? Okay, blog. Correct. Yes, definitely. WhatsApp, poll, blog, Google form. Correct. I could see a lot of people are actually telling Zoom and WhatsApp, test tools, Google form, YouTube, correct. Moodle, okay, Moodle wasn't there, but call Paul. Okay, so the whole idea is to give you a scenario where I wanted you to figure out whether there are ICT tools or not. So in addition to your responses, just to summarize this particular part, okay, WhatsApp, Zoom, Google Form, blog, correct. Yeah, you can stop responding now, not an issue, right? So here, yeah, so many WhatsApp, Google, Zoom, everything. Somebody please stop annotating. Okay, so here if you could see, simply see that I have tried to highlight these tools where we YouTube is used for showing videos and quiz. Google Form was used for conducting quiz online, then WhatsApp Messenger for sharing pictures, and you have the teacher has a blog for sharing her experiences and whatever happening in the teaching learning process. Then there are classroom management apps, then quiz tool is there, right? So these are the different ICT tools are shown in this particular scenario. So the technologies used in these processes basically are information and communication technologies. So this is what I wanted to highlight. So what ICT actually is. So when we see ICT, we just think about name of a tool. But yeah, so these are the purposes and these are the tools that you can consider as ICT tool. So basically what ICT in education has to deal with, like we have seen in the scenario. So there are tools and technologies and resources available like quiz, video, CRM app, and blog, and how they deal with education information. So basically quiz can be used for creating information, videos can be used to disseminate information, then CRM apps for storing information, then blogs for managing information. So there are plenty of such tools available in the market. So what is the broader purpose, and what are the different purpose and tools in education that we have? So basically, if you could see this particular graphic, so these are the Bloom's reverse level. Yeah, somebody is speaking, please mute yourself. Okay, so what I want to say that ICT have the potential to be used in various practices of education, especially teaching and learning, where we can integrate ICT for especially content creation, like you must have created different video content or quizzes for online, right? And content delivery, that is one of the thing that is happening right now. I'm delivering my content, right? For collaboration, collaborative learning, different project purposes. And one of the major aspect that these days we are facing challenges is learner engagement. But different ICT tools can be used for learner engagement, and I'll show you a couple of examples where how you can use this ICT tool for learner engagement. Then definitely assessment is there, administration purpose is there, and I don't want to forget that research is also there. If you're doing education research, it's ICT is very useful. Okay, so I would like to start with one example of ICT, that is visualization. So visualizations such as animations and simulations have been shown to have many learning benefits, especially in the STEM discipline, science, technology, engineering, maths discipline. So if you could see these two graphics, the one is a screenshot of a simulation, the Bernoulli's theorem. You could see different visuals have been shown. The another one is simple pendulum, where you could the learner could simply play, pause this animation based on these interfaces. At the same time, he could see this equation for the same, and he can see the waveform also. So multiple representations are used in this particular simulation. Okay. Now, you must have used different ICT tools, not ICT tools, different visualization in your class. So I want to know really, how do you use visualization in your class? Okay. I want you to think for a few seconds, it won't take much time. It's 11 o'clock. And just respond in the chat box, how do you use visualization in class? Or when one should use this visualization in class? Can you explain some elements or components of these visualizations? Okay, so just read this slide and go ahead. Smart boards, great. Simulations. To explain triple integration, we use software like GeoGebra, excellent. Videos, yes. Purpose to understand process. LCD projector, glass board, canvas, graph. So you must have understood why I'm continuously asking you questions, because see, a lot of people are using different tools, different visualization, and we are getting to know from each other. And we are using this ICT platform of Zoom to understand that, as well as the feature of chat. It's a very simple graph, GIF images, correct. While explaining random processes, virtual labs, interactive graphical tools, great. PPTs and board, excellent. Google Meet, Switcher links. Okay, that was interesting, and I also got to learn about a couple of new things, in particular these things. Okay, Google Meet. Charts and tables and pie charts, one of the classic examples that this we have. So when there was no technology, we used to have these graphical representations. Of course, we are using these right these days also. VLab, virtual lab, is one of the best option. Teach app, there are applications you're talking about. Okay, so you can stop responding now. That's excellent responses I got from everyone. So I would agree, most of you, and this is what I also have to say about how do most of the teachers use visualization in the class, right? So you have given very excellent examples right now. So in generic way, what I can say that most of the teachers will play, show, or demonstrate these visualization, maybe using PowerPoint presentation or projector, like some of you have said. And in addition to that, what teachers will do is they will give narrative explanation, correct? What all of us do is we also give some narrative explanation. What students do at that time? So of course we know students most of the time they observe or they will watch what have been shown, and if there are any queries they are likely to ask questions or clarification only if required, right? So we also know that not everybody asks the questions, but yeah, there are students who do that. Okay, so in continuation with that, I want you to tell me, so I said demonstration and this narrative explanation. So do you think demonstration and explanation of this visualization that we have been using is effective? I want you to say yes or no only. Just quickly go to the chat window and say yes or no. If you agree, say yes. If you don't agree, say no. Great. So a lot of responses I'm receiving as yes. So also keep on observing this particular, interaction style that I'm trying to impose on you is, asking questions frequently, and the nature of questions is also different. Sometimes I give you scenarios, sometimes I give you some, I ask you to write something. Here I'm just asking you to simply say yes or no. So you could see when there is a, minimal efforts, learner or participants tend to respond in a faster way, correct? Okay, you're saying yes, and you're also telling stimulating session, relate with practical example, it most effective. Okay, okay, you can stop responding. So most everyone is saying yes. Of course, I agree with everybody's response. It's not just that you and me, but there are evidences, there is a results from the research on use of visualization also says the similar thing in a different way. Okay. So one research Hansen says that showing demonstration alone is not effective. Okay. And Lindgren is saying that potential benefit of visualization may get lost if students merely observe or watch. And importantly, Bratina has to say that the way teacher teaches with these visualization has a very profound effect on learning effectiveness. So this is to support all of us responses that it's not just us, the results research also says that. But what is the problem with all this? Okay, the problem is, so you have talked about different ICT tools, you talked about how you're using it, how one should use it. But the problem is ICT is everywhere and everyone encourages its use. For example, LMS, MOOCs, visualization, animation, video, simulation, all of us encourage use of it. Even I do encourage use of this thing. But the point is, the problem is the potential of these technologies gets lost without appropriate pedagogical strategies. So if we do not have a very well aligned teaching strategy, it could not be more effective, right? That's what I mean to say. And as you could see for last year, though we have like 10, 20 years of teaching experiences, still it was tough for most of us to shift to online teaching because the face-to-face teaching was much more convenient and natural for all of us. So difficulty in designing and implementing certain learner-centric practices in maybe face-to-face or online mode was also challenging with ICT. What is the solution? It's a very straightforward solution. Anybody can talk about that. So basically, as a teacher, all of us needs to have knowledge of all these tools that are there in the market, what tools are there in the market, available tools. We need to do some research. We need to have information about that. So teachers need to have knowledge of what? First is which of these ICT tools are useful for their purpose. Okay. And then how to select a tool for given learning objective. So this is everything starts from here. And then how effectively you can integrate some instructional or teaching strategies with those tools. This is an important point. So in the upcoming part, what I would be doing is I'd be taking a couple of examples, and then you can figure out how effective it is for your purpose also. So I'll start with Mentimeter. So Mentimeter is one of the very commonly used tool these days. I'll brief about this tool in the upcoming slides. So before that, I want to know, have you used Mentimeter to present before? So I want all of us to go to menti.com and enter this code. So let me just post this thing in a chat. You don't need to respond in a chat box. I want you to go to menti.com, okay? And there you enter this code and then respond, okay? So if you go to menti.com, if you enter the code, you will be able to see these options. Yes, no, no, but I have been in the audience, I don't know. So you can simply check which is applicable to you. So go to menti.com, you will see this kind of window, enter this code and participate in the poll. Okay, the code is 70333418. Okay, so let me see. This is a Mentimeter interface, and people are responding. Let me see how many people actually. Okay, most of you have used Mentimeter. That's a great thing. So yeah, people please go to menti.com and enter the code. I would appreciate your responses over there. Yes, few people are saying no, few people are saying yes. Great, thank you. Yeah, I hope you are able to see my live screen where you could see responses. Okay, so what this thing tells me at this particular moment, because if I have to talk about this tool for you, then I need to know how many of you are actually aware at what level. Okay, so this could have been done in the before the session, but doing a session itself has a different benefits for an instructor, right? Okay, I'll wait for a few more seconds. Okay, you were saying question was doubtful. Have you used Mentimeter to present before? Not as an audience, to present.
Uh, Kadam sir.
Huh.
Sir, the participants can unmute themselves and give answer. And if they want, they can give the answer in chat box also. Both the options are available, sir.
No, no issue. So I'm just using this particular because I want to show the demonstration of Mentimeter as a ICT tool. Yeah.
Henceforth also, the participant can unmute and speak with you directly, no problem.
Yeah, no problem, no problem, not an issue. Yeah, I could see that putting in the chat box and I can respond, no problem. Anything would do. Okay, so I would stop here for this particular activity. I have sufficient responses to talk about Mentimeter. Now that 50% are saying that they have used Mentimeter, and rest of are like either no or they don't know, or they have been in audience. So I would take this as a 50-50. Now the whole idea of introducing Mentimeter is, what is Mentimeter? Okay, so Mentimeter is easy to use interactive presentation tool, like what I have been doing at the moment. There are different ways we can use it. This is a tool for increasing, student learning and engagement in the classroom. It's up to a teacher how to utilize that. You can test knowledge, as well as you can share ideas, as well as you can take a feedback from audience. It can act as a inclusive and fun sometimes. It's definitely free to use, and there is a, if you can upgrade for later, I mean more features if you want, but basic things are sufficient. But what purpose I use Mentimeter for? So I mainly use it, to trigger thinking among the learners. Okay, so how do I do that? I ask a question, I either take audience vote or responses, and then present results in the real time. So this was something diagnosis level. I have another activity, you will be able to understand how effectively we can use Mentimeter. So before that, just to tell you how to use it, if you're in the audience, like you have seen, you just go to menti.com and enter the code. Okay, but if you're a teacher or presenter, you can go to mentimeter.com and create presentations. Okay, I'll also try to show that part as a brief. Okay, so just to give you interesting example of how to use Mentimeter, this is one example. So if you could see, my learning objective is students should be able to predict the outcome of a phenomenon. So here is a condition that I'm giving you. So you could see that there is a bowling ball and there is a feather, both are hanging. Okay, so the condition is dropping this bowling ball and a feather together in a chamber from a significant height in a normal condition in chamber, which will fall fastest. So my question for you is, which will fall fastest? There are four options: bowling ball, feather, both, or nothing will happen. So I want you to respond in a chat box if it's possible at the moment. Few responses are fine. Yeah. Which will fall fastest? You can take your time. Okay, A, bowling ball, C, bowling ball, bowling ball. Most of you are saying A. Couple of responses are saying C, both, E. So while you're responding, keep thinking about your answer. I'm not gonna ask you the reason behind it, but I would like you to think about it. Okay, so yeah, depends on the condition of the room. Yeah, the condition is given. It's normal condition. Most of you are saying A, most of you are saying both. Somebody is saying D, nothing will happen. Interesting responses. You can think upon your reasoning for that. I'm not going to ask the reasoning at the moment. Okay, great. So these are the sufficient responses I have got. Now, what I would do is I would change this condition. Okay. Now, the condition 2 is, what will happen, which will fall fastest if the, after the virtually all the air has been sucked out of the chamber. Somebody is talking about vacuum here, right? So what will happen in this condition? So this time, don't respond in the chat box. Okay. These are the same options. And what I want you to do is go to menti.com and enter this code. I will just copy paste this in the chat window. Okay, so this time I want huge response from all of you, those who are saying they have used Mentimeter or not used Mentimeter. Okay, I'm just displaying the condition 2. You can take some time to read it out. This time the objective is the same. The condition is which will fall fastest when you drop a bowling ball and a feather together in a chamber from a significant height after virtually all the air has been sucked out of the chamber with vacuum. Okay. So go to menti.com, enter the code. Okay. Yeah. Now the whole idea here is, if you're able to see my screen after posting the responses, you could see that different people are responding with different options. Right? So till now, maximum people are saying both will fall at the same speed in this condition. 14% says that bowling ball will fall. Now, though it looks simple, somebody is saying feather will fall. Okay. The reason is now you could see that there are variations in the responses. And if I have responded with a bowling ball, and if I see maximum people are saying that option C, then I may, keep on thinking whether I was correct or not. What is the reason? Can I ask the other people, or can I wait for teacher to explain? Right? So these kind of thinking we need to trigger among the learners. Okay, and the live results, will keep engage them, because the results are happening in a live, and then they are also looking at others' responses. Okay, and the interesting part is, those who are watching, so you could see that there are, we have like 80 to 90 participants at the session, but if you could see, hardly 20 to 30 people respond. Correct? Now that's one of the worrying situation that most of the teachers have asked me. Sir, सब लोग participate नहीं करते, क्या करना है? Not everybody. How do I get to know whether they have learned or not? So my response to this kind of question is that, so you don't bother about making everybody respond, because each learner has a different style to learn and acquire knowledge. So there are active learners, there are passive listeners, active listeners, passive listeners, right? So I'm sure, because we are in the online mode, we all of us know that. So we are having coffees, we are looking at here, we are taking care of children, and at the same time we are attending the session, and we are just trying to focus on kuch kaam ka hai kya, if there is something useful, right? So at the same time, those who are not actively involved will also get to know what is happening around. Okay, it's not just a PowerPoint presentation that is happening, but some activities are happening, people are responding. Okay, these are the responses. So this is the whole overall, orchestration is required. Okay, okay, so now not stretching it much, so let me see which answer is correct. And what I will do is, I will not tell you the correct answer, rather I would like to, show you some small video where you can actually verify your answer. Okay, so just keep in mind that all of you have these responses. Somebody saying nothing will happen. Okay, your responses are coming up. Interesting to see that. Skip that. Mute. Okay, so this is, I would request all of us to watch this small video, and then we'll have a small discussion.
And it is the world's biggest vacuum chamber. It's used to test spacecraft in the conditions of outer space, and does that by pumping out 30 tons of air. Galileo's experiment was simple. It took a heavy object and a light one and dropped them at the same time to see which fell fastest. Now, in this case, the feathers fell to the ground at a slower rate than the bowling ball because of air resistance. So, in order to see the true nature of gravity, we have to remove the air. You drop 2 millitorr in the last 30 minutes. But once it's complete, there's a near perfect vacuum inside.
Station 1, go for drop. TCV 30-1, pressure separation. Inside. Here, go for drop. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Numbers on. 2, 1. Release.
is it mutants ball and fall? Because there's a force pulling them down, gravity. As Einstein imagined the scene very different. The happiest thought of his life was this: the reason broke altogether was the unity all with standing still. There is no force acting on them at all. He reasoned that if you couldn't see the background, there'd be no way of knowing all the feathers would be accelerated towards the earth. So he concluded.
Great. So thank you for watching this video. The whole idea of telling you is, so you had certain responses. There are people who have not responses, but yet watch the video. The whole idea is to get back to the answer of, what will happen to the uh, bowling ball and the feather, right? So the answer is both, because, and you now know the reasoning behind it. You know the out and the phenomena behind it, the gravity, the air resistance, all concepts that we have learned. The whole idea is, now just think about, I could have simply said that in this particular condition, both will fall together because of this scientific phenomena, right? But that may or may not have, some impact on learner. Making them go through all this process will definitely have certain impact on their thinking. Okay, because I tried to use different ways for telling one concept. First I asked vote, I asked you to vote, then condition one, then condition two, right? Then showed you the video, correct? So you can check more. I'll not be explaining the entire thing. You can simply Google the Galileo's famous gravity experiment whenever you have time, and you can check upon the results and think about that. So the whole idea is, what you just now did was a strategy known as POE, that is predict, observe, and explain. So this is one of the instruction strategy, that is POE, that you have witnessed. How we have implemented here is, okay, so first there are steps to implement POE strategy. First you need to set the context. Okay, so you could remember what I did. I showed you the screenshot and I said that there is a condition, right? So you can do similar way, or you can play some part of the video or the visualization, okay, till the stimulus is shown, and then you can pause before the next action and don't show the rest of the part. Students will simply observe. So this is the setting of the context. Then there is a predict phase. In the predict phase, as a teacher, what we can do is we can ask student to make predictions, like what will happen if this, what is going to happen? Can you predict? Can you think? Can you come up? So students will do predictions, even in live class, or I mean face to face class or online class. They can make predictions in the form of, they can write, they can vote, they can discuss with each other. So many ways you can implement these active learning strategies. So in the first condition I asked you to respond in the chat box. In the second condition I asked you to participate in this Mentimeter activity polling, where I could show you the results live. Okay, then next phase is observe phase, where we can show them rest of the visualization which has result, which video you have seen, and student can check their predictions by watching this part here. What I did was I showed you the video. Now in the explain phase, the final phase is the explain phase. So in our case we used the video itself for explanation, but in a physics classroom, physics teacher can go beyond this particular discussion and start talking about the mathematical expressions and everything. So what the teacher can do in this phase is, he or she can facilitate a class discussion on the reason of why did that happen. You can play the visualization as much as time. Students can check their understanding, they can get clarified their questions. So this is the whole entire process of understanding the POE strategy. So you must have been thinking why I'm talking all about this. The session is ICT in education. Now, which ICTs we have used here? First thing is we are using Zoom for live interaction. Then there are features of Zoom we are using, that is chat window, correct? Then I have this slides, Google Slides I'm using, that is also ICT. Then I have used Mentimeter for you to make participate in some engagement activity, right? Then I showed you a YouTube video. So a lot of technologies have been used to facilitate a kind of learning. And it's not just that I've used these tools, but I implemented a strategy called predict, observe, explain strategy. Yeah. And definitely this is all aligned with my learning objective of students should be able to predict something. Okay. Now it is not necessary to implement these strategy in each and every class of yours. Definitely not possible. Okay. But there are different instances or concepts or topics where we need to be more creative than just having plain informative sessions, right? So you need to, as a teacher, you need to utilize your experience and subject matter expertise to think about that. So that is the whole idea of knowing the ICT tools, getting exposure to that, and how you can make utilization of this in the best possible way. Okay. Am I not audible?
Audible, sir.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, so the whole idea is to tell you this POE strategy and use of ICT. Now, to reinforce this part, I would like to make you go through with another similar example, okay, where my learning objective is, I kept it same. Students should be able to predict the outcome of the phenomena. Some people are saying not audible, some people are saying audible. So I wonder what is the...
You are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Thanks.
Audible, sir.
Okay, so here is another small example. We won't take much time like previous example. Here, the scenario is it's a helium filled balloon, attached to a thread. It's not clearly visible over here, and kept it in a plastic box. Okay, the box is on wheels. I want you to predict what will happen to the balloon when the man in the picture pushes the cart. So there is no vacuum or something like that. It's normal condition in this thing. So what will happen to the balloon? You can think of about the explanation later on when you respond to this thing. So the options are A, the balloon won't move. B, balloon will move forward. C, balloon will move backward. I don't know. So I want you to participate again in a Mentimeter. So go to menti.com and enter the code. Okay, I'll post it in the chat box. Quickly go to Mentimeter. So we will not be spending much time on this activity, but this is important so that you can, relate with the previous one. Yeah. So this is the situation. It's a helium filled balloon. Okay. You can read this and then you can participate. I request you to post it in a Mentimeter instead of chat. Okay, saying done. Let me check. This was the previous one. Okay, this is the latest activity we are saying. Okay, there are interesting responses we are getting. So all of us can observe that. Now, those who have responded, you can think and try to explain how you made the prediction, and you can simply respond to the chat box. You may not if you know the physics principle, you can tell, otherwise it's okay, but you can simply Explain your reasoning. It's a 5-10 seconds activity more. We won't spend much more than that.
Sir, when we move the cart, the balloon will be moved backward due to the pressure of the air.
Okay. So you're saying balloon will move backwards. Fine. So I'm not telling you the right or wrong answer. I want you to keep with your reasoning. Thank you for your response. Opposite forces. Okay. Newton's law of inertia. See what is happening. Like we are getting different responses, or maybe same concept through different way of expressions, right? Okay, you can stop posting your responses now, or if okay, I'll wait for a few more seconds. Then I'll wait for 30 seconds and I'll move ahead. Okay, you can stop responding. I could see some responses. Helium is less denser than air. Okay. So now, like we did in the previous example, what I can do is, again, I want to use a visualization, which is video, because we're talking about video as one of the ICT technology for that. This is a comparatively very small video where you can quick check your answers. Okay, the reasoning we can keep self-exploration activity. You can check upon that. I hope this is visible. What I'll do is I'll just slow down it a little bit so that we can have a clear. It's a 9-second video. It's a very small video. So again, people can think of their responses, their answers. Most of you are saying balloon will move backward. And then there are next responses. Okay, I'll play the video now. What I can see is that balloon moved forward. So let it get played one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct? So if you could have observed, the balloon moved forward. Okay. So I'll just use this to give you the answer, and I won't talk about the expression. I'm not physics expert, but you can check upon your understanding later on and verify your answers. Like this is very much famous helium balloon experiment. Okay. So yeah, that's what the whole idea of how we can reuse the POE strategy in similar example. Here we didn't do this explain part. Okay, the teacher can discuss this with the class. So since we are just having demonstration, we don't need to do that. Yeah. So this is how you can use the POE strategy, right? With effective use of POE strategy with the different tools. That is Mentimeter, YouTube video, PowerPoint, everything with a learning objective. Okay. Okay. Just this is not. Yeah. So always remember the triangle of effective learning, where we talk about learning objective, assessment, and instructional strategy. So what we did, our learning objective was about predict, and the strategy that we used is POE. Okay, this is just for your reference. So here are a few, I'll quickly make you go through this examples of Mentimeter. I won't explain. There are different ways you can utilize the Mentimeter leaderboard, timings. People can write their name, who responded fastest. Okay, so there are different features you can explore on your own when you visit the Mentimeter. Now I'll just give you brief idea about how you can, create your own content in the Mentimeter. So like we create slides on Google or PowerPoint. Here also you can add slides, you can create presentations. So there will be a limit for the number of slides you can add in your free version. Okay. So here you can select the type of question that you want to ask. So I have used multiple choice question. There is a word cloud. There are the open-ended questions. There are these ranking questions. Okay, different types. You can also think about quiz. You can also design your slides. If there are advanced questions, you need to explore all other features. I'm not going to talk about each and every aspect of it. Then there comes a content part. So here you can, insert your question in multiple choice. You can enter your options. You can add images like we did for this activity. You could see these images. There is a repository available, right? And then you can select your result layout. So why I use bar chart? Because it's very common to use bar and easily understandable. You can have a donut representation, donut layout, or you can have a pie chart, or you can have a dots, depending on what kind of a purpose you want to have. Most commonly, I like to go for bar charts because it's easily understandable for such questions. Okay, this is the basic of how you can utilize Mentimeter. So you can explore more about the Mentimeter on your own. This is the link. I'll be sharing this content. Now, in addition to Mentimeter, I would like to give few examples before ending the session about another tool called Padlet. So you must have, some of you must have used it in different capacities. Okay. So quick question for everyone. Have you used Padlet before? If yes, say yes, and for what purpose? Okay, someone is yes, others saying no. So looks like most of you have not used Padlet. No issues. So always remember these questions when I ask for taking feedback and opinion. Great, excellent. That's one of the purpose of Padlet. Okay, so let us see. Okay, no. Fine, great. So those who are saying yes, if you could, type purpose, it would be helpful for all of us to know what purpose you use Padlet for. Okay, fine. So I'll go ahead with this because what is Padlet? That's what I want to start with. So those who have used it can very well know that it's an online virtual bulletin board. Okay. Okay, heard about it, but no time tried. Fine, no problem. You can try it out after this session. We will try to have some activity. Okay, so Padlet is online virtual bulletin board where students and teacher can collaborate. They can reflect upon something. You can share links and pictures. You can collaborate for collecting ideas, brainstorming, and more things like somebody has said that feedback and opinions, right? So this is a very good platform to do that. Padlet is free and easy to use. You can use it multiple times. There are, of course, in free version, you will always have limitations, but you know, depending on, we don't use Padlet for all the time. Okay, there are occasions that we need to use this ICT tool, so always remember that. That's what I believe in. So how did I use it recently? So in a similar way to Mentimeter, I asked a question, then I asked the audience to think for a few minutes, and then I asked them to post it on a Padlet. Okay, I'll give you exact example of this thing. So in one of my recent animation, so I also teach animation and 3D modeling. So in one of my animation workshop, so I wanted to know from students that what do they know about animation. Okay, so what is their understanding about animation? So I asked them, what is animation according to you? I asked them to think individually, and they asked them to post on a Padlet. So this is also applicable even in live classroom, okay, face-to-face classroom or in online classroom, anywhere it's possible. So once they think and they post responses, you could see that this is how their post will look like, correct? So why don't I just simply open the Padlet? Okay, I'll just, yeah, it's loading. This is a Padlet window. We will see this post shortly. It's taking some time to load. Okay, hope you're able to see this post now. The whole idea is, see, maximum number of students have responded with their understanding of animation. So if I just have to pick randomly, somebody is saying it's a series of different images combined together. Somebody is saying creating images virtually using different graphic tools. Somebody is saying showing moving pictures. Somebody is saying it's taking still to movement. Somebody is saying it's to represent virtual things, something that moves and it is created by us. So you could see all the students are responding from their own experiences or their own prior knowledge, because they must have been watching cartoons, animation movies, or these days they're watching VFX movies, computer. So which will be more effective? Because if I just do the information transmission and then I don't know, then I'll just take a quiz what is animation. But here, the whole purpose that triggering their thinking and making them think is more important. And this is a platform where everybody can see everybody else's post. They can get to know, okay, this is also animation, this is also animation, this is also animation, this is also animation, right? Or I can, as an instructor, I can comment on their post and say, no, this is not animation, this is something else. Okay, so this is how you can optimize these kind of instructions. This is one example of the Padlet in a simple way, and this can be act as a diagnostic assessment, where you want to diagnose the students prior knowledge before you could move further. Now in the similar settings, another scenario where I would like to emphasize on one point. So in a 3D modeling workshop where I train students online, and what I did is I asked them to participate. I asked them to create a 3D model. So first I showed them a demonstration, and then I asked them to create a 3D model, and I asked them to post the output on Padlet. Okay. So here is the screenshot of the working file. I use a tool called Blender to teach 3D modeling. Okay, this is what I showed them. Now, before going for more complex 3D modeling, I wanted to check how much they have learned and whether they are able to create it or not. So in online class, what I can do is I can simply ask, are you able to do? Yes, no, but I won't be able to see. So either I can ask them to submit on Google Drive or somewhere else, or mail me, or there are different platforms or some LMS. Instead of that, I simply created a Padlet and I asked them to post on the Padlet. So I'll open the link. Okay. So here you could see this loading. Okay. So now you could see what I showed them was this, and immediately I could check, or whenever I ask them to submit, this is the student submissions. Most of them have created a similar object, so I can assure, I can ensure that they have learned what I have taught them, and some of them have gone beyond what I have been teaching. Some of they are actually trying with different shapes and objects. So I can also comment on each and every post. I can also view or enlarge these posts. Okay. It is taking some time to load. Okay. So this is one of the best way that I have used Padlet for in these situations. Now, in continuation with this, my final objective was not them to just create a single model, but a set of different 3D models, create a 3D scene. Okay. I'll open another Padlet where you will be able to see that. So this is what was the final learning objective, that the student should be able to create different 3D models. They should be able to apply, they should be able to create different 3D models, as you can see, table, pot, chair, lamp. They should be able to add colors, materials. They should be able to add lights, and they should be able to render it properly. Okay. So you could see that they were given freedom of creating different 3D models. At the final end, somebody has created a room, somebody has created object, a chessboard, a room, a car. So many examples they have created. Now again, because everybody can see everybody else's output, they can, if you ask them or if they want, they can interact with each other, they can rate their submission, and the collaborative learning can take place depending on how you execute that. Correct. So this is how I try to, I mean, there are other ways I have been using Padlet, but this is one of the interesting way I have used Padlet. So people can think of something like this. So remember, it's not, I'm not saying that you should use Padlet for each and every of your class, but depends on the concept and the purpose, right? Now, till now, what we have talked about is per ICT purpose, implementation of appropriate strategies, that is teacher's role. Then we saw POE strategy, then we saw Mentimeter, then we got some exposure to Padlet. Now, I have a quick, mostly final activity, maybe, let's see, where we would want you to use Padlet, correct? My question for all of you is, read this carefully, write brief answers to the following questions. What is the most valuable or helpful idea or concept that you learned in this session? What is the muddiest or confusing point, or if there is a unclear thing that you must have faced about this session? I want you to post your responses on Padlet. Okay, so don't be hurry. I will. So if you once I share the link, if you click on the link, you will be directed to the Padlet. This is how it will look like. Okay, write brief answers to the question 6 May. At the bottom, if you see this plus sign, okay, if you just click here, the post will appear. You can write your name and you can write your response, okay, to that particular question. Otherwise, anywhere on this space, if you double click or double tap, doesn't matter if you're using phone or tablet or laptop, okay, then again you'll be able to do that. So I suggest to create your own post. Don't comment on others post at the moment, so that you will, those who have not used Padlet will have an initial exposure of using Padlet. So I will share this link with you in the chat window, so that you can simply go there, or you can copy paste. Okay. So yeah, so here is a link that I have shared. You can check in the chat box. So go to this Padlet and post your responses. So if there is any trouble, you can unmute and ask. If you're not able to access the link, if you're not able to post, I'm here to help. So I would urge participants, though have been actively involved in the session, to explore this part, to post your responses, and I will tell you why this activity is more important. So you will have just 1 minute to finish this part. I can give you a few more seconds. It's 11:54. We can go to 55. Yeah. ICT, board techniques, one new, okay, Mentimeter, what I should do like Mentimeter and Padlet. Okay, so you can stop responding now if you have done, or you can post as per your convenience. So before talking about what we just now did, I would like to show you different, what I can say, formats or layouts of this Padlet. So if I go to, change format, I'll be able to see different formats. Okay, if I choose timeline, it may not be applicable to this particular example, but you'll be able to see that, okay, your posts are organized in this timeline format, correct? So while you explore later on independently about the Padlet, you can check upon what are the best ways you can use these kind of formats for, right? Then you have stream format, where you can streamline content in vertical way. Acts like a streams of post, right? Okay. So the different things you can explore. I'll keep it for the wall format for the moment, because it's I want all responses to be at one go and everybody can see that. Okay, now coming back to this particular thing, present. Okay. So this Padlet activity, these are responses, and what you just now did was a very commonly used classroom assessment technique called the minute paper. Okay, so whatever activity that we just now did is a minute paper activity. I will just briefly tell you what minute paper is and how important it is. Though we have been doing it like in a different way in classrooms. Okay, so what minute paper is? It's a classroom, assessment activity where at the end of the each class or lecture, we ask students to write brief answers to some of the following questions like you did, which is what is the most valuable or helpful or beneficial idea or concepts that you learn today's class or today, right? Or what is the confusing or the muddiest point about today's lecture? Okay, and then there are variations in the minute paper which says that it could be in the form of, you can ask them to write one sentence summary, or you can ask them to talk about one potential application of today's content in any context. This is the muddiest point. So these are the variations in the minute paper. Just to emphasize on the point that, give me a moment. Okay, just to emphasize on the point that how well, using this minute paper in courses work. There's a lot of research that talks about it. The research finding says that use of 1 minute paper increase students' performances by zero point 0.5, which is very significant. Then other findings suggest that it benefits students from using 1 minute paper does not depend on the teacher, because simply see that I have been lecturing you for last 1.5 hour, but the last 1 minute activity, if you look at this Padlet, where you know most of are talking about what is the important part that they have learned in the class. It's Mentimeter, it's a POE, it's ICT. So everybody can see that, okay, Mentimeter was useful, ICT was useful, maximum people found this useful, or you have a list of things that are useful. And that is what normally students do. If they miss the classes, अरे क्या हुआ आज के क्लास में, कुछ important part बता, अच्छा था बुरा था करना चाहिए, do we need to learn that or all. So this is what normally students do. So instead of making them do it in the later part, as a teacher we can facilitate these kind of activities. So we ask at the end of the questions whether you have understood or not, but this kind of a minute paper activity is really helpful. Okay, it is also not depend on their ability level, students ability level, doesn't matter what ability they have, but this activity is really helpful. Then what they are saying is, when asked by college teachers to identify a single innovation that most improve their teaching, they always respond with the minute paper. That is also findings suggest that. Okay, then there are two more findings that I would just like to highlight. So so the students' performances, who wrote minute paper was higher than the regular students. Also, it has help in increasing their in-quiz scores. Okay, so these findings to suggest that it's not just that I'm telling you one thing, but it's based on the research also. And you could simply, witness these examples now. Suppose somebody saying Padlet, somebody saying feedback, somebody saying ICT tools. So you can simply check out what was the important part or what was the confusing part. So if there is anything talked about Mentimeter, Padlet for interaction, no confusion, sir, no confusion at all, no confusion. Okay, because nothing is muddiest or confusing how to use ICT. So there are a lot of only positive things that you're talking about, but it's useful for you. So for that particular minute, you are thinking about it. Okay, ICT was useful, Mentimeter was useful. So that part should be triggered out, and everybody can see this particular thing. Okay, so finally, to conclude this part, so there are these classroom assessment techniques, and there are a few questions that I can tell you about. You can ask these questions. You can ask students to give 5 to 10 minutes summary of last night's reading. Suppose you have given them some reading, include 2-3 main ideas. So basically, normally what we do, if somebody has watched some movie or some TV series, we ask them, hey, what is it all about? Is it interesting? So if we can just simply replicate that thing in learning also, it's really important. Okay. What were the 3 important points from yesterday's discussion? Or this question could be, this is really interesting. So suppose if you are summarizing today's discussion for a friend who was absent, what 2 ideas do you think are the most essential? That's a very common scenario we find in students. So instead of making them do themselves, you can initiate in the classroom itself. You can ask them to define in their own terms or something like that. Okay. So you can just browse through these things once I share this content. Okay, so you can explore Padlet on your own later on. This is how I can cover up. So I'll share the homework activity with the organizer, where you would need to create your own POE activity, right? And you will have to submit it on this Padlet. Okay, yeah, one important part. So here, if I have a post, you could see that if I simply click on this upload icon, you can pick any file from desktop or existing loaded file. You can upload any file. Okay. Or if you click on these 3 buttons, you have an option of upload. You have option of adding links. Here you can give it to the Google Drive link. Okay. So this is how you have to submit, but not on this Padlet, the other one. Okay, that is what the submission is. So if you just quickly go through this link, so I might have existing assignment submissions from different sessions or previous sessions, where you could see that what people have done. So your submissions could be in PDF format, PowerPoint format, or Word file, whichever is possible way for you, right? And you can refer to the POE strategy that we have seen in the class. And it's I recommend you to give a try for this activity. If you ignore it, nothing will happen. But if you try it, definitely it will add upon your ability of teaching. It will really help you in designing your curriculum in different ways. Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to make a point. I'll just change these things later on. So yeah, thank you very much for your attendance and patience. If there are any questions, queries related to this particular session, I'm happy to interact, or you can post also on the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. The participant can ask by unmuting themselves.
So it's a wonderful session. You have mentioned a number of the tools, the ICT tools. We don't know about the Padlet, how to utilize that Padlet tools, and some Mentimeter tools, and how to elaborate the concept of POE is a wonderful, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your feedback, and hope you would be able to explore this part in your lectures also. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Go ahead.
Sir, very nice session. Thankful to the organizer. Sir, my question is, for every lecture, for one or the other topics, if you start taking feedback, do you think it will be effective one?
Okay, so it's really interesting question. Even I think of something like this all the time, because see, there are different purposes. So 1 minute paper is not a feedback. So you're talking about 1 minute paper activity or a different feedback thing?
Mainly for feedback.
What feedback can you just explain more so that I can specifically talk about that?
For after every lecture, if I ask my student to give the feedback, which one is the best part of the session, which one is a confusing part, then I do not think it will be that interesting for them to give the feedback every time. What do you suggest?
Okay, so this was not a feedback. Okay, this was not at all a feedback. This was to understand whether they have found something useful or not useful or confusing. Okay, so this is more about making them reflect on their learning. Correct. So feedback would have been whether the lecture was good, whether the delivery was good, whether you understood or not. These questions would come under feedback. Okay, but this is something where you want to make them think when they are going what was useful. So instead of me saying, have you liked Mentimeter, was it useful, instead of just give them 1 minute or few seconds to think about it. Okay, so anyways they know that lecture is going to end, anyways they are focusing on different part, but that one particular minute will definitely have some impact. And see, this is not just about one lecture. So think about, you are as a teacher, we are as a teacher, putting a lot of efforts in creating 1 hour content. So giving 1 hour lecture, we need to prepare slides, we need to sort it out, we need to think about what questions student might ask, we are going to design assessment. So a lot of preparation we do. So don't you think that the learner for whom we are doing everything should actually tell us whether they really learned or found something useful or not? So for example, if in this session, if all of the participants are telling me, at least maximum are telling me that Mentimeter was useful for them. Okay, so it will help me also to tailor my instruction in upcoming sessions. So I could know that, okay, in this lecture, people found Mentimeter useful. Or what will happen, if in some session, if I don't know, and already people are aware of Mentimeter and Padlet, then this instruction will be very, won't be useful. They will be expecting more advanced level of learning from these tools, right? So these reflections, if you take it as a feedback also as a teacher, will definitely help you. So think about every week, if you have 2 lectures, every month you may have 10 lectures, and then for 4 months, for a course, you might have 50 lectures for the semester. Think about, you have a list of useful topics for each lectures consolidated at one point. And if you just share, if it is there for all students to know, so your 50% job is done, because after every class, students know what is important in that particular session, right? So they may come up with more advanced questions maybe. Okay, so in a way it is not compulsory, but it is very useful in a different way. It's absolutely dependent on teacher's perspective and experience, or could be very specific to the subject. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I can light on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you very much for everyone for your patience and attending this. I hope it was useful for you also. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Kapil Kadam, sir,
Yeah.
for excellent session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for excellent session.
Thank you.
so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
So there are some instructions to the participants. So hope that all of